we started off with this only, and now we worked our way up to this. And that's just a lot better, a lot more full, and a lot more detailed. So let's put the till in the right volume. Okay, this sounds nice, but I feel the punch is just a tiny bit off with the till. And the till is already quite full. We might buzz it and send it to another through another extreme distortion to then use an extra layer. But I'm gonna add a new serum layer and see if we can maybe beef up the punch just a little bit more, color it in a nice way so it fits our till a little bit more. So let's open up a new serum. And get going on this extra punch. And I'm not even sure what it's gonna sound like. It just needs to be complementing that punch in the right way. So it doesn't even need to sound great on its own. I think we're working on an F right now. So let's just keep an F and make it short. Then we're gonna give this our envelope on the coarse pitch. Make it go on one side only, and let's shape this up a little bit. And let's make it a little bit more snappy with the help of the envelope on the volume. Let's see what this wavetable has to offer, and if it doesn't have the sound that I want to have, then we'll just switch it up. I feel this can work, so let's just try. Let's turn this down just a tiny bit. Okay, and let's distort this. Oh, the other one. And let's just make this, shape this sound a little bit with a filter. I'm just gonna go to one of my go-to filters again. And let's maybe see if this sound already is what we need. It sounds a little bit too rough on the edges, but it might actually work and give some extra dimension to our punch. And again, that entire ending, the tail of that punch, isn't what we need. So we're just gonna clip that off, and maybe it doesn't work yet. Or maybe it does. Let's see. I feel we should shape the mids a little bit more on this extra punch layer, and that will really help giving a little bit more body and making the tail and the punch glue a bit more together. Let's do it like this so that we know what we're working with in the playlist. Put it up a little bit. Let's give it this volume. Then we can loop it a little bit faster. And let's mute our tails and give this clean. Want to keep the project as clean as possible. And now let's work again on our punch. just gonna be a matter of shaping this the right way with some EQ, some filter, and I think we'll get there. And let's see how this sounds with our punch. The coloring of this, the tone of this sound is just off. Like this, it does work. Now it's sounding in tone with the rest of our punch. Nah, let's not use that on there. And let's maybe see what this extra filter will do. Maybe we even get a sicker result. So let's export this. Okay, Jesus. Sounds like a really up-tempo, hardcore kind of punch. And let's layer this in there. Maybe we should get away of the volume automation and export it like this so that we get more room to play with our sample. Otherwise we have that pre-made fader in there, just the curve on the volume. And now let's see if this works again. Okay, this is something extra, so that's good. It's only sounding better, so that's nice. And this just is a tiny change, but I feel this makes the punch and the till glue a little bit more together. Again, I'm going to turn down the volume, this time on my headphones, and really listen if this is in the right volume. And maybe play a tiny bit with this facing over here. So it sounds like nice like this, and yeah, I'll just keep it like this. Let's turn up my volume again. Now we're going to focus a little bit on the till, and that's because this till has a nice sound, but it isn't as crunchy yet that I want it to be. So yeah, let's just use this buzz that we got over here and start to destroy this sound a little bit more. I'm going to use shade for this, and that's just because we can use the fancy type of filters in here to just create something weird. And let's use disto effects. I always find this distortion just really gives something extra to your extra distorted tills. So let's play around in the EQ and see how it even sounds. Sounds a little bit rough, but it sounds nice. It's really changing that character of the till. And when we layer this under the rest of our till, I hope this is gonna sound good. Of course, it's always just a matter of experimenting as well. Maybe like this. Let's just export this. Roll up. And let's layer it under there. And let's mute these effects. And give this one its own channel. So we can really start fusing them together. Let's check a little bit if it's in phase. Okay, we kind of might need to adjust that. And let's add this one. Yeah, sounds off right now in phasing. This makes it fit. You see how this extra distorted layer, even though it's the same sound, can really be used as a new extra layer, because right now when I take this away, it just sounds dull, it sounds boring. It's crunchy, but it's boring. But with that extra layer, it's more aggressive, and it's, even though it's euphoric kick, don't hold yourself back with the amount of distortion that you're using, because you still need to be wild with that distortion to get that good sound. Now, of course, we added this extra layer and we got an extra punch in there as well. And let's hope these two layers still kind of fit together. So we got our punch, let's send it to another channel, and let's get the till to another one as well. Maybe we can balance it out a little bit more if needed. Okay, this sounds nice. And how does this sound in a loop? This position is just a little bit better. Now we need to clean the transition over here up a little bit. And that's fine. Maybe we can sample this still. Okay. What I'm listening for right now is if this punch and till flow well together. Of course, there's going to be a melody or screeches on top of this, but if that way the till flows back into the punch doesn't sound right and make the punch sound off, that's just bad for your entire mixdown, and it's gonna end up in this kind of unsolvable mixdown problem, and you won't know where it's still going wrong, but it's just sounding not as pure as you want it to be. And that's just mainly because of the way this waveform ends over here in the with the polarity. It just doesn't really sound right with the way our punch starts. So it's just kind of a matter of chance. And if we sample this, we can stretch this just the 4 layers together and maybe make that spot where the till ends a little bit better. So you can just loop the kick more fluently. So let's see, let's put it there. And let's get the punch going as well. Just here, it doesn't sound as clear as you want it. So maybe if we stretch this a little bit. This could work if we maybe. Maybe we need to stretch it back a tiny bit. We're getting there, but we just need some time. I feel it's somewhere around here that it will sound good, but it's just a tiny amount of stretching that we need to do. I feel this spot works. Okay, that's sick. Let's make sure to give this one a mixer channel as well. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna add our layer underneath the punch that's gonna give the low end a little bit more body. Of the punch. So we're gonna add some kind of kick drum, and I'm just gonna scroll through some kick drums over here and see which one I think might work. It's always important to just have a quick listen to that sample or the sound that you want to layer a little bit, and just keep it in mind and find a good sample. This is snappy, this sounds good. Now we might need to pitch it a little bit. Put it in there as well. And let's play with this pogo again. Okay, so that isn't helping, then we might need to pitch it up. Yeah. Now it's a little bit too loud. But it adds really much to that punch. It's just making the punch have so much more body, and it's just gonna change from this solid punch layer into just a more finished type of punch. And if you place it in the right spot, and it just takes practice, you can really get a snappy sound out of there. And now let's see how it sounds with the till behind it. Of course, we have this low end in the punch, and we need to fade this with the low end of the till as well. But we'll just see how this goes. Just see how it sounds together. Okay, that's good. Now, maybe this extra layer makes the kick a little bit less loopable. So let's just see if our stretching is done correctly, or maybe we don't even need to stretch it anymore. Really need to stretch this. As you hear in the high end of the crunch right now, it's just but up, and just a little bit offbeat. And yeah, just try to listen for that. Especially when the crunch comes in. So let's just stretch it a little bit more. And now that is gone. So this again sounds just like a good pitchable or a good loopable kick. Now let's see where we're at. We have a full solid till, and we have a nicely layered punch as well. Let's just sample it at this moment and just see, maybe our waveform just gonna help show us where we still gotta do some work. Because if this would be finished, it would kind of look like a normal hardstyle kick, but I feel we might hit some kind of imbalances. See, this punch is just way too loud for our till. So what this means is either pulling down the punch or increasing the volume on the till. So we have too low volume on our till. Okay, so this is the only sample, that's good. Let's route our extra punch layer into the punch channel. Make sure that it's, we can kind of see how loud it is. That helps with the visual things help with hearing it, and just really ensures you're working in the right direction. And now it's a matter of getting our till to fit with that punch. Now this isn't as easy as saying, okay, like, hey, the end's slightly in the red, let's put this up as well. Because loudness is in play as well. The till might sound a little bit too loud for the punch, and we have a real transient on our punch that we kind of want to keep in there. So the transient is always going to be a little bit louder than the rest of the sound. But we do want to push this till as loud as possible. Let's EQ our punch a little bit, give a little bit more high end, so it put a little bit more emphasis on the snap that it has. And like this, we will have fixed this issue at least, like with the too quiet till. So let's sample it again, look through it through Edison, and see what we can maybe adjust the next kind of thing. So it's slightly clipping over here, let's just ignore that. But you can really see that this low end doesn't really fit nicely together. So let's glue that together a little bit more somehow. Probably it's going to be some part of automation, and maybe we need to move the ends of their samples a little bit. Let's just decrease this one a tiny bit. Okay, that helps a little bit. And now we got this low end from our club kick as well. So let's put an automation on there and make sure this just moves in the right way. Let's just end it a tiny bit before the other one starts, because over here it's just playing on a little bit too long, and we might want to get this a bit earlier, and then using visual references we can see if this actually helped or made the problem worse. And in this case I think we can better do this, and we need the volume to be louder on here, keep it with the same loudness, and then make the ending a little bit more swift, just a little bit faster. We still, now we're creating a real gap. Sometimes it works as well. Let's just put it like this. This should kind of make a little gap in the sample. See, this really make that gap. And now we can throw some automation on our till and try to close that gap as much as possible. So we're gonna start this off by nothing, because the till needs to fade in as well, and of course it's gonna end with nothing. Then we got our peaks, and make sure the till always stays on the same volume, and just this is gonna fade the till in a little bit. And now we can basically shift this a tiny bit, and what this will do is it will only make that fade out point a little bit later. And now we're gonna try and fix this kind of gap that we have over there. Okay, things are looking clearer, but it's still pretty much just a gap. Let's just give this one some more space again. Put you back a little bit, and maybe just tweak this down a little bit. And maybe even our extra punch layer over here just has some extra rumble in the low end. And we could just get this away by playing around with that sample. Okay, so maybe giving it some more space like this. Okay, this can work, but we still have this gap. And now this problem can occur almost any time when you're making kicks, and that's fine. It's just we need to find a way to work around it. And the way we're going to work around it is we're going to sample our punch and turn it down a little bit because it's too loud, and turn the till down as well. So it still stays in balance. Now we can record this. Now we can hopefully record this now, hopefully. Yes, so let's just make sure everything is good. Yes, okay. And let's distort this, and maybe we'll stretch it a little bit, but getting some good peaks in our EQ before the distortion. We'll just stretch the sample out a little bit, and we'll use that to bridge over that gap a little bit. So it sounds a little bit weird, but I'll show you. Maybe like this, and fully distort it to fuck again. Don't be don't be too shy to really push the distortion to its limits. You hear how this is just a little bit more rough, but a little more stretched out as well. That's what we want, and maybe let's just use a tiny bit of stretch, a little bit too much. So we make sure that it's really stretched out. And this longer type of sound will just bridge in our gap. Like the gap is in between here. It's just a tiny movement from punch to till. That's just a little bit too tough right now. So let's just get this in its own mixer channel and give it a low cut, because we don't need any lows in here. It's just gonna help us bridge that gap. So like this, and maybe our gap gets a little bit more close like this. Okay, it's the transition is actually looking a little bit more nice right now, but you really notice how this ending of our punch is a little bit too loud because it has some resonance here, or it has a little bit more of a boost in the low end over here that's working wrong with our kick. So maybe we can cut this off just a tiny bit again. Maybe make it end over here, and it's still crossing over that gap, you know, it's just really just another small detail. Now this transition looks nice, but it's still a little bit too loud maybe. And it's changes like this that can make a good hardstyle kick really stand out and really be a more difficult part of sound design to master. So just take your time, get used to this, and really try to solve these little problems. And I'm actually thinking we might be almost done right now. We might want to boost the punch a little bit, and this gives it a little bit more, yeah, just sounds better to me. And let's put this in one entire bus just to finish it up. Yeah, that's all. Maybe put an EQ on there. This is something it really needs. Now the tail doesn't really need that extra boost in the highs, but the punch might. And maybe to boost you a little bit as well. And now we're gonna glue this together by maybe limiting this to a more coherent sound. Now like this just really makes a brick out of the kick, but it also really makes it as loud as possible while still sounding good. So whenever you want to finish a kick, just limit it a little bit and make sure it sounds as loud as possible. And yeah, this is my take on euphoric hardstyle kicks made out of serum, showing you all the layers. If you have any questions, just make sure to ask me, because I want to help all of you with your questions around producing. Just ask them in the comments below. And again, I hope you liked it and I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you back soon. Cheers!